Everyone knows James Bond, the man in the suit, the calm voice, the perfect aim. But behind the tuxedo and the smirk is a man hiding behind a mask. We don't admire Bond because he's real. We admire him because he's everything we're told a man should be. Strong, confident, untouchable, and never afraid. But here's the question no one asks. What does it cost to live like that? What does it take to feel nothing and still keep moving forward? Because the truth is, the world doesn't love James Bond. It loves his armor. From the beginning, Bond was built as the perfect fantasy of masculinity. Sean Connery gave us the image of the man who never breaks. Smooth voice, sharp suit, cold eyes, he could seduce, fight, and kill without hesitation. He wasn't just a spy, he was control itself. In every scene, Bond represents mastery over chaos. He never doubts, never fears, never shows pain. But that image, that mask, came from a world terrified of weakness. The early Bonds were a reflection of post-war masculinity, men who had survived trauma, violence, and loss, but were never allowed to talk about it. So they learned to hide it behind charm, humor, and control. That's the birth of the Bond we know, a man who feels deeply but can never show it. Then came the Daniel Craig era. And for the first time, we saw the cracks in the armor. In Casino Royale, Bond falls in love with Vesper Lynd. For a moment, he lets the mask slip. He's vulnerable, human, hopeful, but when she betrays him and dies, the mask hardens forever. You can almost see it happen. In the last scene, when he says, "The name's Bond, James Bond," it's not confidence, it's closure. That's the moment the man disappears, and the myth is born. Vesper didn't just break his heart, she gave him a reason to never show it again. By Skyfall, Bond is older, slower, haunted. The mask begins to crack. He drinks more, feels more, bleeds more. He's no longer the perfect machine. There's a line from them, "Orphans always make the best recruits." That's the truth behind every version of Bond. He was trained to replace love with loyalty, connection with mission, emotion with precision. He's the orphan man who never truly belonged anywhere. So he became a weapon instead of a person. The psychology of Bond is the psychology of repression. He survives by detaching, by turning off the parts of himself that make him human. And that's why we're drawn to him, because deep down, every man has been taught some version of that mask. Don't cry, don't break, don't show weakness. Bond is the ultimate version of that message, a man whose perfection is built on pain. Compare him to Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible. Ethan feels, he loves, he fails. He's willing to risk everything for one person. Bond would never do that. He's not allowed to. His world is built on duty, not devotion. That's what makes him powerful and tragic. Ethan's humanity is his strength. Bond's lack of it is his curse. Every Bond film is secretly a story about emotional control. Even when he's smiling, even when he's seducing, he's performing. The suits, the martinis, the cars, they're all symbols of control. They distract from the chaos underneath, because if he slows down, if he lets himself feel for too long, everything inside him might collapse. In No Time to Die, the mask finally shatters. For the first time, we see Bond as a man who wants peace. Not missions, not violence, not another woman. Just peace. He finds love again, but it's too late. His past has already written his ending. The final scene, standing alone, choosing to die so others can live, isn't about heroism, it's about surrender. The man who could never stop running finally stops. And that's when you realize James Bond was never invincible, he was exhausted. Psychologically, Bond represents the cost of emotional isolation. He's the embodiment of how society defines masculinity. Strength without softness, courage without emotion, success without connection. He's a warning dressed as a role model. Because the truth is, the more we try to be perfect, the less human we become. That's why we admire him. But we don't want to be him. So who is James Bond, really? A killer with a conscience, a lover without love. A man who can save the world but not himself. Every time he walks away from an explosion without flinching, we cheer, but every time he loses someone he loves, he just tightens the mask and keeps walking. That's what makes him both powerful and tragic. And maybe that's why he endures. Because James Bond isn't just one man. He's every man who's ever been told to stay strong while breaking inside. He's the modern myth of control. The beautiful lie that strength means silence. But true strength has always been the opposite. Real strength is the courage to feel to admit you're not okay. To love, to fail, to hurt, and still keep your heart open. So maybe the next evolution of Bond isn't about better gadgets or faster cars. Maybe it's about taking off the mask completely, because behind the tuxedo and the gun, there's a human being who's been waiting to breathe. James Bond taught us how to be unbreakable, but maybe his greatest lesson is that even the strongest men are allowed to break.